I'm Dr. David Warren. I'm 60 years old, and after more than 3 decades working with patients over 50, I've realized something most people don't want to admit. Our eyes don't weaken just because we're getting older. They weaken because of the tiny habits we repeat every night without even thinking about them. You may not notice it, or you may think it's nothing serious. But those little moments are what determine how your eyes will feel when you wake up the next morning. Let me paint you a picture. It's nighttime. You turn off all the lights, lie in bed, and pull your phone right up to your face. That blue light shoots straight into a retina that's trying to rest. Or maybe you sip a late-night coffee, thinking you're still awake and alert. But that caffeine tightens the tiny blood vessels in your eyes, starving them of oxygen while you sleep. And sometimes, something as simple as a salty dinner raises the pressure inside your eyes. You don't feel it, but your retina certainly does. I once had a patient named Margaret, 68 years old. She told me that every morning she had to blink several times just to read the numbers on her calendar. She thought it was just old age. But after we made a few small changes, cutting screen time at night, switching coffee to water after 6 p.m., and lowering her salt intake, just 3 weeks later she said, "Doctor, I can't believe how much more comfortable my eyes feel." Have you ever felt like Margaret? That moment in the morning when your eyes seem a little foggy, like there's a thin layer of mist that just won't clear? If you have, you're not alone. What I want you to understand is simple. Your eyes aren't aging as fast as you think. They're just tired. And sometimes, all it takes is a few tiny changes to help them feel younger, one night at a time. When I first started practicing medicine, I used to think that anything powerful for the eyes had to be complicated or expensive. But as the years went by, I learned something surprising. Sometimes the best solutions are found in the simplest, most ordinary things. And golden kiwi is one of them. I want you to picture this. Every night, when you close your eyes, your retina begins its night shift. It repairs, restores, and rebuilds the cells that spent the whole day fighting off blue light, dust, strain, and time itself. But it can't do that job without the right fuel. And golden kiwi happens to carry exactly what your eyes crave: lutein and zeaxanthin. These nutrients act like natural sunglasses inside your eyes, quietly filtering out blue light and reducing the damage your retina takes each day. I still remember a patient of mine named Richard, 72 years old. He told me that every night when he read the newspaper, the letters would slowly blur, as if a thin layer of fog was settling over his eyes. I suggested something very simple. Eat 2 golden kiwis in the evening, about an hour before bed. Richard laughed and said, "2 little fruits? That's going to help?" But just 10 days later, he came back and admitted, "Doctor, I'm reading the paper without holding it right up to my face." What many people don't know is that golden kiwi also contains a special compound right under the thin layer of skin, caffeic acid. It acts like a protective shield for the photoreceptor cells we tend to lose as we age. I'm telling you this because your eyes don't always need some big heroic intervention. Sometimes they just need a bit of steady, gentle support. And golden kiwi is exactly that kind of helper. Small, easy to find, yet far more powerful than it looks. As we get older, there's something many people forget. Our eyes get thirsty, truly thirsty. And once we pass 50, the eyes lose a lot of their natural ability to stay hydrated. That's why so many people wake up in the morning with dry, gritty eyes, or with that annoying blur that takes a few minutes to clear. Now, I want you to think about a slice of cold watermelon on a summer day. Sweet, refreshing, full of water. But for your eyes, watermelon isn't just a snack. It's a quiet source of hydration your eyes desperately need at night. One evening, a patient of mine, Linda, 67 years old, came to see me. She said, "Doctor, every morning my eyes feel fuzzy. I have to blink several times before I can even read the clock." I asked her a simple question. "Do you drink enough water before bed?" She laughed and said, "No, I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom." And that's exactly why I told her about watermelon, a fruit that's more than 90% water, but absorbed by the body more slowly than plain water. Meaning it keeps your eyes hydrated for hours while you sleep, without waking you up at 2 a.m. Watermelon is also rich in lycopene, an antioxidant that protects your retina, and the white part near the rind contains citrulline, a compound that helps relax blood vessels. When blood vessels open up, your eyes receive more oxygen and nutrients during the night, exactly when the repair process happens. A week later, Linda returned and said, "Doctor, this morning my eyes didn't feel heavy at all. I guess watermelon really does fit me." I share this because sometimes the eyes don't need a miracle treatment. They just need a little kindness, the right nourishment at the right time, and a cup of watermelon before bed, as simple as it sounds, can change the way you see the world the next morning. You know, as we get older, something happens quietly inside our bodies. Everything slows down just a little. Our heartbeat, our sleep, and even the tiny blood vessels that feed our eyes don't flow as freely as they used to. And among all the causes of blurry vision, there's one issue that most people overlook: microinflammation inside the retinal blood vessels. These vessels are incredibly small, incredibly delicate, yet they determine how clearly you see the world. I remember a patient named Michael, 74 years old. He used to drive across states when he was younger. But recently, he told me that every time he drove at night, the streetlights looked like halos, blurry, starburst-like, almost painful. It wasn't his glasses. It wasn't just aging. It was inflammation silently affecting the tiny vessels in his eyes. That's when I introduced him to something he'd never heard of: black currants. These small, deep purple berries contain a powerful group of compounds called anthocyanins, which help calm inflammation and widen the microvessels that nourish your retina, almost like opening a door so the blood can finally flow the way it should. What's amazing is that research shows anthocyanins can improve blood flow to the optic nerve, support people at risk of glaucoma, and even help the eyes adjust better to darkness. After a few weeks of taking black currant extract in the evening, Michael returned and said, "Doctor, I haven't seen nighttime lines this clearly in years." I smiled, because moments like that remind me of something important. Sometimes, we don't need a major surgery or a strong prescription. Sometimes, nature gives us gentle solutions, small fruits with big healing power. And black currants are exactly that: humble, quiet, yet incredibly protective of the eyes we rely on every single day. There are days when I sit in my office watching patients rub their eyes, telling me they can't see their phone screens as clearly as they used to. They assume their eyes are just getting older. But the truth is, the first thing that wears down isn't age. It's the tiny retinal cells responsible for capturing light. And those cells desperately need support. One of the most powerful gifts nature gives those cells is blueberries, especially wild blueberries. I want you to imagine this. Each night when you turn off the lights and your eyes finally get to rest, the cells in your retina begin repairing themselves. But if they spent the entire day fighting off blue light, straining to read small text, or focusing on screens for too long, their ability to recover becomes weaker and weaker. Wild blueberries contain a remarkable compound called pterostilbene, similar to resveratrol, but far more potent and easier for the body to absorb. It goes straight into those photoreceptor cells, helping repair the tiny bits of damage caused by time and everyday strain. I had a patient, Evelyn, 70 years old, who loved reading on her Kindle every night. But recently, she said the words started to blur, especially when the room was dark. I suggested she try a simple routine: Eat a small portion of wild blueberries before bed, not mixed with dairy, just lightly frozen and then thawed, which makes the nutrients even more bioavailable. She looked skeptical, but she tried. 2 weeks later, she walked into my office with the biggest smile and said, "Doctor, I can read again. Not like I'm 20, but enough to make me happy." And that's the thing. We all deserve that feeling. That little spark of hope when something simple begins to work. Sometimes it's the smallest fruits, tiny, dark, easy to overlook, that carry the power your eyes have been waiting for. There's something many people don't realize. When your eyes close at night, they're not resting the way you think. They're working quietly, tirelessly, repairing all the damage collected throughout the day. But to do that, they need oxygen. And as we age, the supply of oxygen to the retina drops more than most people imagine. That's why I often recommend red flesh dragon fruit. Not for the taste, but for what it does inside your eyes while you sleep. I remember a patient named Stephen, 69 years old. He told me, "Doctor, every morning my eyes feel tired. Not painful, just heavy, like they never really rested." That heaviness is often a sign of retinal hypoxia, when the retina simply doesn't get enough oxygen overnight. Red dragon fruit is rich in betalains, rare antioxidants that help open up the tiny capillaries feeding your eyes. And when those capillaries open, oxygen flows in, right when your eyes need it most. I asked Stephen to try something simple. Eat half a red flesh dragon fruit about an hour before bed. But I also told him something most people overlook. Chew the little black seeds. Those seeds contain omega-3 and magnesium, two nutrients that help calm and support the optic nerves as they repair themselves at night. A few weeks later, he came back with a gentle smile and said, "Doctor, I woke up this morning and my eyes didn't feel tired. It felt like they finally got to breathe." I knew exactly what he meant. And if you've ever opened your eyes in the morning feeling that dull, foggy weight, you know it too. Sometimes it's not that we didn't sleep enough, it's that our eyes weren't nourished the right way while we slept. And red dragon fruit, simple as it is, can give your eyes exactly the breath of oxygen they've been missing. In more than 30 years of practicing medicine, there's one thing that weighs on me every time I talk to older patients: the fear of losing central vision. Not total blindness, just the slow fading of the sharp, clear center of what you see. Because that's the part that lets you read a grandchild's face, or follow the lines of a book, or feel confident walking through your own home. And all of that depends on one tiny area of the eye, the macula. If there's one small fruit that protects the macula better than almost anything I've seen, it's goji berries. They don't look powerful, just little red dried berries sitting quietly in a bag, but they're packed with zeaxanthin, a nutrient that acts like a shield for the center of your vision. While lutein protects the outer retina, zeaxanthin focuses right where you need it most. I once had a patient named Helen, 73 years old. She came to me terrified after her eye doctor told her she had early signs of macular thinning. She asked me, with a shaky voice, "Doctor, is there anything I can do to slow it down?" I told her to start with something small, something gentle. Soak 2 tablespoons of goji berries in warm water for 10 minutes and eat them about half an hour before bed. Then pair them with a square of dark chocolate. Flavonoids in the chocolate help her body absorb more zeaxanthin, a combination ancient traditions understood long before modern science confirmed it. 3 months later, she returned. Her expression was softer, calmer. She said, "I'm seeing better, but more than that, I feel like I'm doing something right for my eyes." And that feeling, that sense of taking back control, is something every one of us deserves. Sometimes, all it takes is a handful of goji berries each night to protect the part of your vision that protects your independence. There are certain things in medicine that make me stop and think, even after more than 30 years of practice. One of them is how sugar, something we eat every single day, can slowly cling to the cells inside our eyes, forming sticky little deposits that cloud the lens and make everything look hazy when we wake up. That process is called glycation, and it's one of the quietest and most overlooked causes of blurry vision, morning fog, and early cataracts. And strangely enough, nature gives us an answer in one of the simplest fruits out there, papaya. I remember a patient named Raymond, 76 years old, a man who loved reading the morning newspaper. But recently, he told me the letters began to look washed out, like someone had smudged the ink. His eye doctor said he had early signs of cataracts. He didn't want surgery, and he asked me, "Doctor, is there anything I can do to slow this down?" I suggested something gentle and easy. Eat 1 cup of ripe papaya about an hour before bed. Not cold, because cold temperatures weaken papain, the enzyme that breaks down those harmful sugar deposits. And not with milk, because dairy blocks the absorption of key vitamins. Papaya contains papain, which works like a tiny cleaner, breaking apart the glycation products that cloud the lens. And its vitamins, A, C, E, help strengthen the tear film, soothe dryness, and make mornings clearer. After 6 weeks, Raymond returned. He carefully set his newspaper on the table and said, "Doctor, I'm not seeing like I did at 20, but this morning, for the first time in a long time, I read a full page without squinting." I smiled, because I knew that feeling. Sometimes the thing that brings light back to your eyes isn't a surgery. It's a quiet, consistent habit done with kindness toward yourself. Papaya, simple as it is, can change the way you see the world each morning. There's something I've learned after many years working with patients in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. It's not just what you eat that matters, it's how you eat it. I've met people who were incredibly diligent. They ate kiwi, blueberries, papaya every night, yet their eyes were still dry, still blurry, still heavy in the mornings. And they would sit across from me and ask, "Doctor, what am I doing wrong?" And I always smile gently and say, "You might not be doing anything wrong. You're just missing a few small details." Let me tell you about Susan, 71 years old. For 2 months, she ate blueberries every evening, but nothing changed. When I asked her when she ate them, she said, "Right after my warm glass of milk." And that was the problem. Calcium in dairy blocks nearly 30% of the lutein, zeaxanthin, and anthocyanins your eyes are trying to absorb. Once she separated her fruit by about 90 minutes, her nighttime vision improved noticeably. I've also seen people wash their fruit too aggressively, scrubbing away the delicate skin, the very part that holds most of the antioxidants. Or they keep fruit ice cold in the fridge, not realizing that key enzymes like papain fall asleep at low temperatures and can't help the eyes the way they're supposed to. There's another principle I remind every older adult. Eat your fruit at the right time, about 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Not too early, so the nutrients reach the retina right as the repair cycle begins. Not too late, so your sleep isn't disturbed. And don't forget a little healthy fat, a few walnuts or a slice of avocado, like a key that unlocks better absorption. You see, your eyes don't always need something dramatic. They just need you to care for them with small, thoughtful habits. And those tiny details can make a world of difference when you open your eyes each morning. There's something I always remind my patients, the ones in their 60s, 70s, and sometimes even their 80s. You don't need to change your whole life. You just need to change your evenings. So many of us have gotten used to saying, "Well, blurry vision is just part of getting old." But the longer I practice medicine, the clearer it becomes to me. It's not age that dims our vision. It's the way we live each day. I remember one afternoon, a man named James, 78 years old, came into my office looking a little down. He said, "Doctor, I can't see my wife's smile clearly anymore. I'm scared that one day I'll only see the shape of people, not the people themselves. That sentence stopped me, and it reminded me why I'm sitting here talking to you in this video. Because our eyes aren't just for reading words, or checking road signs, or scrolling through screens. Our eyes are how we see the ones we love, how we see our family, how we see life itself. 3 months after he followed the small habits I recommended, eating the right fruits at the right time, reducing blue light at night, and treating his eyes with small acts of care, James came back, smiling softly. He told me, "I can see the little wrinkles at the corner of my wife's mouth again." And for me, that's enough. I'm sharing this with you because it's never too late to take care of your eyes again. You can start tonight simply by being a little kinder to yourself. Before you leave this video, I want to ask you something sincerely. If your eyes were clearer tomorrow, what's the very first thing you would want to see? Share it in the comments. I read every single one, and I truly treasure the stories you share with me. And if you found these insights helpful, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and send it to a friend or loved one over 60. One small action from you today might help someone keep the light in their eyes for many more years. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue this journey of staying strong, clear-minded, and full of hope as we age. There's something I always remind my patients, the ones in their 60s, 70s, and sometimes even their 80s. You don't need to change your whole life. You just need to change your evenings. So many of us have gotten used to saying, well, blurry vision is just part of getting old. But the longer I practice medicine, the clearer it becomes to me. It's not age that dims our vision. It's the way we live each day. I remember one afternoon, a man named James, 78 years old, came into my office looking a little down. He said, "Doctor, I can't see my wife's smile clearly anymore. I'm scared that one day I'll only see the shape of people, not the people themselves." That sentence stopped me, and it reminded me why I'm sitting here talking to you in this video. Because our eyes aren't just for reading words, or checking road signs, or scrolling through screens. Our eyes are how we see the ones we love, how we see our family, how we see life itself. 3 months after he followed the small habits I recommended, eating the right fruits at the right time, reducing blue light at night, and treating his eyes with small acts of care, James came back, smiling softly. He told me, "I can see the little wrinkles at the corner of my wife's mouth again." And for me, that's enough. I'm sharing this with you because it's never too late to take care of your eyes again. You can start tonight simply by being a little kinder to yourself. Before you leave this video, I want to ask you something sincerely. If your eyes were clearer tomorrow, what's the very first thing you would want to see? Share it in the comments. I read every single one, and I truly treasure the stories you share with me. And if you found these insights helpful, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and send it to a friend or loved one over 60. One small action from you today might help someone keep the light in their eyes for many more years. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue this journey of staying strong, clear-minded, and full of hope as we age.